Hello, my name is Francisco Chaydez, and I'm going to talk about interracial relationships. What is interracial relationships? It's when two different people of race, cultures, and values meet each other. That could lead to friendship and relationship. Sometimes it could lead into a marriage or a long-lasting connection of a friendship with each other. That's considered interracial relationships. Brief history of interracial relationships. In the past, interracial relationships considered illegal and forbidden in countries like Nazi-era Germany, apartheid era in South Africa, and the Jim Crow era in the United States. Throughout those countries are forbidden to have interracial relationships and can lead to prison time and punishment. But things got to progress in a very historic matter, such as the fall of Nazi Germany when they lost to World War II in the 1940s, the fall of the apartheid in the mid 90s when Nelson Mandela became president, and lastly, Loving versus the state of Virginia and the civil rights movement in the United States in the 1960s. Things got to progress a lot better, and throughout the decades, people of color of all walks of life fought and risked their lives to get the equal rights to have connections with each other into their own countries. And even to this day, they put in a fight and understanding the connections of race and relations with each other and knowing each other's histories. Interracial relationships in modern day world. There's already a connection and understanding with that with people of all walks of life, race, cultures, values, etc. But at the same time, they face judgments and dislikes from their own race, cultures, and religion, and etc., regardless of society progressing forward. But at the same time, they still understanding the unknowns, but acknowledging other people's difference and cultures work. But at the same time, never wrong to learn with each other and others so they can stay connected with one or another. Examples of interracial relationships. Although I've never been into interracial relationships, but I have friends and family that are in interracial relationships and friendships. For example, my brother Eduardo, who's a Latino man, is married to a woman named Brixby, who's a Caucasian woman. They've been married for 7 years. But I asked them questions or to share their experience, how they come about with their connections. So here's the perspective and experience of my brother Eduardo and his wife Brixby. Eduardo said, "We met at a ceramic sculpture class in community college in Laney. Brixby is a baker and was exploring cakes as sculpture, and I was majoring in art at the time." Brixby said, "Yep, we didn't know each other well in class, but I eventually asked him out. Then we got married 7 months later. We have a lot learned about each other pretty quickly." What did her friends and family think of them both? Eduardo said, "Now they got more comfortable. Our teenage nieces definitely bring up her race. When we first started dating, some of my friends also jokingly brought up about I was going out with a white girl. It's connected how marginalized communities cope with trauma. So it's interesting to think about how history plays a part in our everyday lives. Her family, for example, tried to joke and point out things of my difference to them. But it feels maybe less joke because way history of colonialism and racism have played out in history. Brixby said, "Yeah, as Eduardo said, my family loves to talk about his ethnicity and makes jokes. There's definitely a lot of unacknowledged biases at play there, for at least. I feel very protective around about Eduardo around my family. They live out of state, so we don't spend much time with them. Whereas with Eduardo's family, I really want to take care to acknowledge my whiteness and give room to talk about that, especially with the nieces and nephews who are spend a lot of time with them. It mostly comes out to jokes, and I play along with it as well. I think it helps to open the doors for deeper dialogue. It's important to consider how much a part of their family I am super thankful for, and growing up in an education system that talks about race and history in a very critical manner. My brother Eduardo and Brixby will say, communication is key in any form of relationships, along with gender roles plays into it, such as my brother Eduardo will end up being accountable and able to express his poems in a very reasonable and respectful manner. As for Brixby, she'll talk about her attitude of his way, my way type of attitude, but able to solve it in a very respectful and understanding manner. But at the same time, communication is key to any form of relationships, and along with the gender roles play into it. But it depends who's who you connect with. But this is my speech on interracial relationships.